Hello everyone, my name is Prashant and the topic for today's video is EC2 stop and start instances. So without wasting any time, let's jump straight to our topic. So why do we need to stop or start our EC2 instances? And I mean, this is just a common basic practices. It may be you have applied the patch and you need to stop or start the bulk of instances, or generally this is a requirement which comes out in a dev environment where we want like all of our EC2 instances to be stopped after 5 p.m. and we need to bring it back after 9 a.m. So I mean, either it will be your system admin requirement where after applying a patches they need to stop and start the instance, or maybe the instance is not responding, or the other thing like I mentioned, like in the dev environment you want to save the cost, so you want to stop your instances after office hours and then bring it back up during the office hours. Okay. So why I created this video? Because there are so many docs which are available on the internet. There are so many YouTube videos. But in this video, I'm going to show you the approach which you can follow. And in case in future, if you want to encounter this kind of a situation or this kind of a scenario, how you are going to approach to these kind of a problems. Okay, so let's get started. So to start this, I will go to this Boto3 official documentation, go to available services, and then scroll down to EC2. Okay, this is the EC2, and first of all, I am going to follow the bare bone minimum approach. Okay, and I agree that I'm going to write some bad code, or I will say that at this stage, this is something a new requirement for me. Okay, so I'm going to follow the approach one. I'm new to AWS. I'm new to Boto3. I don't know much about Python, so I'm going to follow the bare bone minimum approach. I just want to make sure that my code is working and the requirement is met. And then I'm going to follow a different approach where I'm going to improve this code. Okay, so let's follow the first approach. So I open this Boto3 official documentation. I go to EC2, and there, if you watch my earlier video called Introduction to Boto3, I have discussed about the client and a resource. Okay, and there I mentioned that it is much easier to do some actions with the help of resource because it's a high level object. If you want to understand more about client versus resource, just watch this video. I will share the link in the description of this video. So let's go with the resource. Okay, and again, it might be too basic for anyone who already aware of how Boto3 works, but again, I'm stressing this to the point that in this video, my whole point is to what is the approach you are going to follow. So again, I'm repeating it. If you are new to AWS, if you are new to Boto3, what is the approach you are going to follow? Okay, so let's say I go to this resource. You may need to go through these options once at least. So if you look at any of the resource for which is mentioned for Boto3, you will see three kind of options. First is the resource available actions. So first set of action is when you want to create something. Okay. The second one is these are the resource available for sub resources. So if you look at these options, when you want to describe something. Okay. So for example, you want to get the instance ID, you want to get the image ID. Then in that cases, you are going to get this sub resource. But if you want to create something, for example, the key pair or subnet, then in that case, you are going to use the first section. And the last one is called collections. In the case of a collections, right? If you are dealing with a multiple resources, for example, you are dealing with a multiple instances, multiple volumes. So in that case, you are going to use the collections. Okay. So now again, coming back to our previous requirement, my requirement is to stop the EC2 instance, and same way we can do it. We can write the code for starting the EC2 instance. So let's first focus on stop, and then we will see how to do it for starting the EC2 instance. So if you go back here, I have mentioned this, that this sub resource is for like if you are dealing with a single instance or for a single resource. So I can do this one instance, and if I need to do it for the multiple instances, I can go with a collection. So if you see here, you will see somewhere called instances. Now whether to use instance, which is capital I, which is a sub resource, right, versus instances, it's completely up to you. It completely depends upon your requirement. If you are dealing with a single instance, you can use this, the instance, and if you are dealing with a multiple instances, you can use the collection, the instances, this one. Okay, you can use the instances. So let's say in my case, if I go back to my AWS console, you will see I have the multiple EC2 instances running in Oregon region. So in my use case, I am going to use instances, which is a collection. Okay. So enough of theory. Let's start writing the code. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import Boto3, right? I'm going to import the Boto3 module. Secondly, I'm going to create a resource out of it, and the way we are going to create a resource is boto3.resource EC2. Okay, and then go here and it say this guy ec2.instance.all. So right now, let's say I do not understand how this works. So let me print this. Okay, and if you scroll down, maybe not. So let's print it, and then we will see. Python 3 EC2 stop_start.py. So it's a collection, right? So which means I can iterate over it. For instance in, right? And let me print it. So I am going to get the EC2 instance ID. And the reason I'm going to get the EC2 instance ID for this region, if you see, this is C5F and A39. C5F A39, because this is my default region. This is my default region, and I am using the default session here. Okay. Once again, if you do not understand this default session or what exactly the resources, please watch my video introduction to Boto3. Okay. So now I got the instance ID. Okay. So in case of Python, we have a operation called dir. Let's run dir on the top of it, and let's look for the output. So if you scroll down, you will see something called stop. Okay, so it's a method. So let's use this method on all of our instances. Stop. Okay, now execute this code again. It's executed successfully. Come here, and you see that both of our instances is in stopping state now. Okay, so this is our first bare bone minimum code, where we use the collection, which is the instances. We iterate over it, and we stop all the instances all the way, right? So once again, let me repeat it. This is the code which I wrote right now when I do not have much idea about AWS or Python or Boto3. This is the bare bone minimum code. So this is the first approach which I have followed. Okay. Let's say I want to improve this code because my requirement changed. And the requirement is, if you go to both of these two instances, the first instance is having the instance type as t2.micro, and if you go here, the second instance is the instance type t2.nano. Okay, or the first instance is having a tag of Boto3.test. The second instance is having a tag of Boto3.prod. So now, let's say in first case, I only want to stop the instances which having an instance type of t2.micro. Okay, so let me bring up both of these, and in the meanwhile, let's start working on the code. Okay, so in approach 2, I want to enhance this code, and in the process of enhancing, I only want to stop instance with instance type as t2.micro. Okay, so in order to achieve that, let me go back to this Boto3 documentation page for resource, because we are using a resource, right? And if you scroll down, there is something called filter. And as the name suggests, you can filter out your resources. Okay, so how I'm going to do that? So in that case, rather than using this all, I'm going to use something called filter. Okay, and let's go back here. The syntax is like filter right, and then this is a list, and in between I need to define my filter. So what exactly is that filter? So rather than making it this too convoluted, let's define our filter here. I can define EC2 underscore filter. Okay, and this filter is going to be a dictionary, as mentioned here. This is a dictionary with name and value is again a list, so you can specify the multiple value here. So I can specify name. Okay, I will come back to this, what exactly its name is going to be, and then values. And as I mentioned, the value is going to be a dictionary. Oh, it's going to be list, sorry. So name, again go back to this documentation page, and if you scroll down, you will see something called instance type. So name is going to be instance type, and value is t2.micro as in our use case. t2.micro. Okay, and then you can apply this filter here, ec2.filter. So earlier I was trying to stop both the instances because I'm using all as a collection, but now my requirement changed, and I only want to stop an instance with an instance type as t2.micro. So for that, we wrote a filter, and the filter we have wrote with the help of this documentation, where this is given as the instance type, value equal to t2.micro, and then rather than using all, we have applied this filter. So let's execute this code, and this time only this instance need to be stopped. So as you can see, this instance is in stopping state. So in approach 2, we have further enhanced the existing code by using filter, and we only stop the instance which is in with instance type as t2.micro. Okay, this is one filter that I have applied. You can apply other filter also. So for example, let's go here, and like I mentioned, let me apply one more filter called EC2 underscore tag. And this is going to remain the same. We need to specify the name. Okay. And then the values. And the value is going to be again the list. So let's go back. And if you scroll down, you will see something called tag. Let's see this tag, and with tag you need to specify the key. Okay, I know this is a little bit complicated, but so the way you are going to specify the tag is name is equal to tag, and then you need to specify the tag. So for example, in my case, let's say this time let's shut down this boto3.prod. So key is name. In my case, the value of the tag is name, right? And the value is boto3.prod. Got it? So this time, if I'm going to execute this script, it must shut down this second instance. So let's execute this script. Refresh it. Okay. Oh, my bad, because I did not apply this filter. So let me apply this filter now. Okay, as you can see, the second instance is now in the stopping state. So I showed you two ways you can apply a filter. In first way, on the basis of type, second on the basis of tag. And as you can see, this is a list, so you can apply multiple filters here. So if I want to stop all the instances with value equal to t2 micro and tag equal to boto3.prod, then I can use this EC2 underscore tag. So it's going to apply this on all the instances which match these values. Okay. So this is my approach second. Let me bring up this instance. Okay. Now this script is executing well. Everything is working fine. But now I have come up with a new requirement. So this is approach 2 and the requirement 2. Now my third requirement is, or the third enhancement which my boss asked me to do on the top of the script, is that right now I'm only stopping all the instances which is present in this US West to Oregon region, right? But let's say my developers, they are working in US West 1 in this North California region, and they want a single script which is going to stop the instances in Oregon as well as in North California region. So I need to enhance my existing script. Okay. So let's go back to the script. Okay. And for the timing, let me comment out this code. Okay. And let me start a clean slate, right? So if you guys have watched my earlier video regarding EC2 meta, Boto3 meta, there I have mentioned that in case of a resource, there is no way you can iterate or get all the regions, right? So in order to get a regions, either you need to use a client or you can use a meta to access the actions provided by the client. So in this case, I am going to use the client. Okay. So let me show you how to do that. So print ec2.meta.client. Okay. Let me show you one more time. So, okay. So if you and I will share the link of that video where I have described in depth about this meta in the bottom of the description of this video. So let this open. This is for client and this is for resource. So if you go through these options of resource, you will see that there is no option to specify for client for regions. But if you go here and scroll down, further, there's something called describe regions. Okay, but in case of EC2 resource, there is no option to describe regions. So for that, either I can use create the EC2 client for either I can create client for EC2, or I can use Meta to access a method or actions provided by by the client. So in this case, I'm using the later one, that using a client, I'm going to access the actions provided by the client. So dot describe regions. Okay. Let me execute the script. And as you can see, we are getting all the clients, all the regions. Let's further regions. Okay, we are getting this, and because this is coming out as a list, we can iterate over it for region in, right? For region in print region. And I can further do that with the help of region name. Okay, so I'm getting all the region, right? But in this case, I do not want to print this region. Let me create a list called regions. Okay, and append the output of this loop to this regions. Okay, regions dot append. Okay, and just for the sake of our clarity, let me print the output of this here. Okay, so this list contains all of our regions now. Okay, I don't want to print it now. So now we have got the list of all the regions. Okay, now let me iterate over these regions for region in regions. Okay, and I already create a Boto3 resource here, and this is just to enter into the client using a meta. Let me create one more with the same name, Boto3.resource. Okay, for EC2, and I can specify this. Now I'm going to give you one more parameter. Region underscore name is equal to region. So here I'm just iterating over this list which we have just created, and I'm creating a EC2 Boto3 resource and iterating and looking for all the EC2 instances which are present in a different region. Okay, so this is done, and just for the sake of clarity, let me print those EC2 regions, right, comma region. So now we have all the instances in different region. Okay, now I only want to stop the instances which are in the running state. Okay, which makes sense. So once again, in the previous case, I have created this filter. So let me create this filter, but this time we need to modify this filter a little bit. Okay, so last time we have used instance type. So if you go here back, okay, I think I have closed that. If you go here, scroll down and look for a filter called instance state name. So this time I'm filtering out the instances based on that if they are in a running state. Instance state name and the value equal to running.